being shorthanded, I don't know how much more you could ask for than that.
What up, Key?
What's happening? What's happening? What's happening?
Yeah, I would say, look, for that to come down to a winning drive, to see Arizona stop Green Bay in the end zone and on that 1 yard line, right? And to have Kyler Murray make that drive to put them in a position to win the game. I walked away last night saying the Cardinals lost that game. The Cardinals lost that game.
Well, I'll say Key
more so than the Packers won.
We couldn't hear Key when he was talking as we're waiting to get Key's mic up and running.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I'll say this. Going into the game, Jay, the way you framed it was, and we started building on that yesterday, in terms of MVP talk. Going into the game, Kyler Murray probably had the slight lead. You could argue Lamar, you could argue Tom Brady, but Kyler Murray probably had the majority of people saying he's a little bit out in front. The result of that game would have a big impact on how people think about the MVP. Because you have to figure Rodgers would have to ball to win that game, given he didn't have his top three receivers, you could argue, with Valdez-Scantling out, too. But the way it went down at the end of that game, when Rodgers, it looked like, okay, he's going to punch it in, but got stopped just short. And then they don't convert. And then Kyler takes him right down the field. You just had the feeling the Cardinals were going to win the game. I still think Rodgers jumps up in the MVP conversation. I don't know if he's won right now.
He's not at the top. I would still have Tom Brady or Lamar Jackson ahead of him.
Right.
But he's in the conversation now.
And what's so interesting, we were talking about it before the show started. Rodgers' whole problem with the Green Bay Packers in the offseason was they didn't seem to not only not solicit his advice, they didn't seem to want it. They told him, we don't care. And when he forced them to get some humility and realize we're going to have to bring this guy in the loop, they went out and did what?
Got Randall Cobb.
They went out and got him his boy, Randall Cobb.
He gave him 2 TDs last night. Let me also break something else down to you, Max. NFC Championship game. Remember that third down play where he kind of looks a little bit lost? Everybody's like, just run it in there, punch it in there. Then they kick the field goal, right? They don't go for it. Think about how that flips on this back now. Third down, he actually tries to punch it in. You're like, yeah, he's trying to punch it in. 4th and goal, don't go for the field goal. They actually go for it. That they get stuck. But I still like the flip of mentality because that contradicts what happened the year before.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, if Rodgers runs in the NFC Championship game, they're going to go for it because they're going to be 4th and inches most likely if he doesn't punch it in. And that's what happened. By the way, it doesn't mean it works out because it didn't work out this time. It only worked out because A.J. Green, apparently, there was some kind of miscommunication. But it does mean at least that you don't hand the ball to Tom Brady saying get a couple first downs and now, kick a field goal and you're going to beat us. It does mean that. I mean, Kyler Murray took over on downs, drove him down the field, and they should have won the game, but they didn't. Is Key back?
I don't think we still have him.
Gotcha.
I was going to say this, though, Max. As it relates to the last play.
Can y'all hear me, man?
There he is. Look at Key. You can see him on
TV. Can we hear him?
You can see him on TV. Smile.
There you are. We got you.
Can you hear me, though?
Yes, we can hear you now. Key. We can hear you now.
Oh, you can?
Yeah, we can.
We can hear you, yeah.
You can. We can. Jump in, Key.
You would think with a company like this, our audio would certainly work all the time. Yeah, it just happens sometimes, I guess.
Miscommunication, like A.J. Green. What are you going to do? Once in a while, there's a communication breakdown.
Once in a while, there is communication breakdown. So what were you guys discussing?
I was going to ask you, Key, what do you think happened on that last play with A.J. Green? I mean, you've been in that situation, it feels like, a lot of times. Like, what was the miscommunication there at the end?
You got to remember A.J. Green is coming off basically the streets. They signed him in the offseason, and so a lot of communication between he and Kyler Murray, a lot of communication between the way that they call plays. It looked like to me that he wasn't sure if it was a running play or a passing play. And when he got out there, he kind of had a brain fart once he started to run the route. It looked like at the top of the route, he wasn't for sure if he was supposed to turn around or just block. So he got caught in between. It was a perfect throw by Kyler Murray, no question about it. And 9 times out of 10, I'm dialing that same play up at the end of the game on a back shoulder fade because see, he started to kind of break out right there, and he slowed down. If you look, he looked like he was wanting to break out, but at the same time, he kind of wanted to block the guy. So I think he just got caught in what he was supposed to do. It's just an unfortunate situation. It was a really good game. Green Bay gave them all they can handle, and Arizona gave Green Bay all they can handle. In fact, Green Bay probably left about 17 points on the field. So, but it turned out to be a good game. I watched it from wire to wire.
So 17 points on the field. I want to play this Cliff Kingsbury sound about the A.J. Green route and all that. 17 points on the field is interesting because we are looking at these two NFC powerhouse teams. If they link up in the playoffs, what could happen? And we see the Packers really shorthanded, and yet they could get it done. Listen to Cliff Kingsbury, the Cardinals head coach, on what happened on the play we were just discussing.
Right
Cliff
about
Kingsbury,
that.
I assume you could. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Cliff was right about that. It was the right play. They bring zero pressure. You back shoulder right there. It's a touchdown. Flight of the football was perfect. I mean, that thing was just so beautiful. And I knew as soon as I saw it, I knew exactly what they were getting ready to call, and so did the Green Bay Packers. But A.J. wasn't on the same page, and it's an L. Great play by the defender, though.
You know what's interesting, and Jay brought this up, and I think we should get into it. And we got 4 hours ahead of us, damn near, here on Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max, ESPN Radio. But Aaron Rodgers, the beef with the team, Key, in the offseason is like, you're not only not soliciting my opinion, you're telling me to shut up when I give it to you. And they're like, oh, sorry, are you going to leave? Oh, sorry. Yeah, Jordan Love's not exactly what we thought, and you're still great. We didn't know if you were slipping, but you're not. You're great. Okay, what do you want? Can you go get my guy? Can you go get Randall Cobb, right? Well, he's past his prime. He's this and that. But, Key, they bring Randall Cobb in, and because these dudes have built-in chemistry, look what happens, right? Like, look at the lack of communication. A.J. Green, who's relatively new to the team, the whole thing, versus a guy who's in sync with Aaron Rodgers. Is there something there, Key?
Well, yeah, of course. You practice together. You know each other. It's just a comfort level, all of those things. And he has that rapport with his receivers because they've been together for such a long time. So it made sense to get somebody that he was familiar with, and it made sense when Devontae Adams and Alan Lazard was not playing that Randall Cobb would be the guy to make a couple plays in the game that would make the difference in the football game because of the relationship.
And it also made a world of a difference considering the way Green Bay just pounded the ball on the ground. I mean, Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon combined for, I think, close to 150 yards. But they made a concerted effort to run the ball up their stomach each and every time, and there was nothing that the Cardinals could do about it. So then when those possessions would come into play for a guy like Randall Cobb, it gave that balance to the offense.
Yeah, well, listen, you knew missing your top three receivers, really, you're going to have to run the ball. Jones can, he's a good back, and it worked. And I think the big picture thing with all this is it helped the team. Like listening to Aaron Rodgers, soliciting his input, and then going out and executing the thing that he's like, hey, this would be a good idea, right, my guy? Helps the team. They don't win without Randall Cobb yesterday, most likely. We're asking at Key J and Max on Twitter, who's playing the best football in the NFL right now? Be a part of KJM Nation on the Dr. Pepper Twitter feed or call in line 888-SAY-ESPN. 729-3776. ESPN Nation is presented by Dr. Pepper. College football's back, so are the fans. Return to glory with Fansville by Dr. Pepper, the one fans deserve. Could it be the Packers, and what kind of an impact does that have on Rodgers' future? Right? Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max, ESPN Radio.
Today on ESPN Daily, you may think you know Brave.
ESPN Radio, ESPN News, Sirius XM Channel 80, your smart speakers, where you get your podcasts, etc., etc. We're presented by Progressive Insurance. All guests on the Goodyear Hotline. Dr. Pepper, call-in line right now, 888-SAY-ESPN, 729-3776. The question is, who's playing the best football in the NFL at the moment? Aaron Rodgers and the Packers are 7-1. Do they have your vote? Listen to Aaron Rodgers talk after the game about how he's feeling right now.
I've just been really.
What do you want? Like, you didn't tell me anything. What do you want me? How do you want me to react? What do you want me to say?
I want your reaction. You've been saying for the longest. Here, I'll do key. I'm sitting in your normal seat today. You're in LA. We're here in New York, and you would turn to me and go, "He's not going anywhere. If he makes the Super Bowl." He's not going anywhere. So here he's saying, you can interpret this to me, Key, Jay, one of two ways. On the one hand, he's happy. If they do make the Super Bowl, like you said, Key, maybe he's staying put. On the other hand, someone could listen to that and be like, that sounds like this is the last dance, like he's savoring the end. How do you hear it?
Oh, God. You've been in sports talk media too long because you're trying to break that down, decipher that, and say now all of a sudden because he's saying we savor these moments in the locker room and we cherish that this is like his sending off party at the end of the season. He's just simply answered a question and saying what a beautiful time it's been and all of those sort of things. In the end, I don't know if this guy's leaving, coming, or going. I just think it's very difficult when you are having the time of your life and playing and winning games. It looks like that you're headed in the right direction toward another Super Bowl appearance, that all of a sudden you're going to leave a team and a bunch of players to go try and build new chemistry and everything with somebody else somewhere that you don't even know when you've invested so much time and energy into Green Bay Packers. This is not a free agent situation where a team doesn't want to give you money. You're deciding to leave based on what? Everything you got, everything you want. You're getting paid. You're having a little bit of say in what they do, and you're winning football games. So I don't know.
Two things that happened last night that I thought were pretty monumental, and it seems like Aaron Rodgers is moving towards a very positive frame of mind with this is, Max, you made mention of it, Randall Cobb, 2 touchdowns. That's his guy. On a night when 3 of your wide receiving core is out, 3 huge targets are out. Tomlin even gets hurt, right? Your tight end. Randall Cobb comes through. That's your guy. Okay, you asked him for your guy. You got your guy. He delivered in a big-time moment. The other thing is what I said in the first block, twice.
Yeah.
First block, which I think speaks volumes to me. I go back to the NFC Championship game. 3rd down, he doesn't try to punch it in. That was a huge topic last year. And then Matt LaFleur deciding the miscommunication not to allow Aaron Rodgers to go for it on 4th down. They kick the field goal. Fine, they lose that game. But I go to this game now because 3rd down, he tries to punch it in. You see the deliberate effort to punch it in. 4th down, everybody says, go for the field goal. No, we're not. We've been in this situation before. So from Aaron Rodgers, that's right. It's in our hands. It's in our hands now, not the other teams. It's in our hands. And I think those little things just continue to show signs that, hey, Aaron, this is yours. Hey, Aaron,
Jay, I
this is
agree
yours.
with every single word you just said. I wonder, though, does that lead you to believe Key is on the record as saying if they make it to the Super Bowl, he's not going anywhere. Other than that, who knows? But if they make it, he's going to stay. From what you're seeing, because I agree, Rodgers saw daylight and ran. They went for it on 4th down, etc. They got him as guy. Does that mean to you the likelihood has raised that he is staying?
Yes. What else do you need us to do?
Key, you
What
think
else
the
do you need us to do,
likelihood?
Key? Like, you're starting to get me, Key. Like, what else do you want, Aaron? Like, we'll make it work.
Well, the one thing that you got to do against the Arizona Cardinals is you've got to score points. So him running the ball had nothing to do with whether or not he's going to stay. It has more to do with I've got to score points. On the 4th down, you're that close. You're not going to kick a field goal when you're 1 foot from scoring a touchdown, and you got to score points. So I don't think that has anything to do with his performance last year in an NFC Championship game. I think it has something to do with we got to win this damn football game right here because our defense isn't great, and we know at any moment they're going to give up the goods, much like they did on the last drive when Kyler Murray had the opportunity to kill it off. the defense, they decided to just basically let him do whatever he wanted to. Third and whatever it was, third and a million miles, he converted on a first down. Then again, he did it again. Then he scrambled around again. So it's about getting the points, and Aaron Rodgers knew that, and he was going to put the game in his own hands and try and get in. He didn't get in, and then on fourth down, they wind up not getting in again.
Key, I get what you're saying. On the other hand, it was the NFC Championship game. It was Rodgers versus Tom Brady. High stakes. Brady dominating the AFC for all those years. Well, what if he didn't have Belichick? Year one in the NFC, Rodgers and Brady link up in the NFC Championship game. Rodgers had daylight, didn't run. So I understand what you're saying about, hey, Arizona, you're going to have to score points. They have Kyler Murray, all that. There's still time. But the stakes are like, as a fan, if I'm a Green Bay Packers fan, I don't mind him. In this game, he's running. I'm like, ooh, he's going to take on a defender. I don't know. In the NFC Championship game, run. You don't think that had any bearing on his state of mind for this game, as Jay suggested?
It certainly carries over into, I probably should have put the ball down. Now that you've seen it 1,000 times, next time I get that opportunity, that's what I'm going to do. It's not about putting myself in harm's way as a quarterback. It's about scoring points against the Cardinals. If the receivers were open, he would have delivered the football, but he also knows, okay, I've got to score points. I can't force the football, and the only way we're going to be able to do it, because initially what he tried to do is buy time as much as he could. He tried to buy time, and then he pulled the ball down. He started to shuffle. Then he realized, okay, there's a lane. Let me just tuck and go. And Aaron Rodgers has done that in the past in his career. But when you play against the Arizona Cardinals, they force you to do things. They force you to go for it on fourth down. They force you to go for it midfield because they score so many points at a high rate, at a high clip, quick, fast, in a hurry. So you certainly don't want to leave yourself short.
No, and the way that ended with him getting stopped just short and Kyler driving down the field didn't feel like it was going to end the way it wound up ending. That's Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise. Aaron Rodgers won without his top targets. But will another NFC Super Bowl contender need their quarterback to keep pace with the Packers? That's after Jay has this from O'Reilly. Or, of course, on last night's game, but Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max on ESPN Radio and ESPN2. Going to move on to the Cowboys at the moment. They're coming off their bye. Dak is coming off a calf injury. The Cowboys are playing the Vikings, who can get to the quarterback. That calf injury is on the same leg as the initial injury to that lower extremity. So Dak was asked about his injury and availability for Sunday. Listen to what he said.
I don't know if it's just my decision. Obviously, you guys know me, been around and watch me go. I tell you right now, I'll go play today if I.
Dak Prescott.
Well, first of all, he can't be the 6th seed if he wins his division. So let me correct that. As I said the other day, as I was looking to the rejoin, I'm like, well, I don't think he can be the 6th seed. So let me correct
divisions
that.
I wasn't going to say nothing. I was going to let it go off the Pluto.
No, I didn't ask you to say anything, Jay. I can handle this. I don't need you to. I'll let the listeners know I screwed up. I don't need you to tell anybody. It's one of those deals where you are compensating to some degree, but there is that injury that he had last year. And then when you look at what's happening to him now, I wonder if it's fatigue. I wonder if it's to the point where that leg and those muscles are firing so much because they haven't been firing as much in the past because of the injury. Now, all of a sudden, your leg is just so fatigued that you're having issues on that side of your body. That could be the case. But if he's healthy and he's ready to go, he's playing. That's the reality of it. He's my star quarterback. He's a guy that I paid a bunch of money to, and he gives us the best chance to win. We are certainly trying to, as of right now, play ourselves and put ourselves in the best position to get to the Super Bowl, something that we haven't been to in a very, very long time. And if I lose this game to Minnesota without him in there, it just puts us behind. If he's in there and we lose, then at least we gave it our best shot. But he's going to play if he's healthy.
You see, Key, I go the other way. I've heard you talk about the Dallas Cowboys so many times over the past year. And one of the things you commonly mention is the fact about how great of a training staff that they have. The best in the league, actually, was the way you put it multiple times. So when I hear that and I start reading about people like Britt Brown, who obviously is one of their head trainers, and I hear Dak make mention of, yeah, I think my calf strain is due to one of my lower extremity issues with my ankle before, like that tells me that's coming from the training staff. And yes, I know he was out there running through plays, but if it feels slightly off to him, or if the training staff feels, hey, it's in our best interests that he doesn't re-injure this due to fatigue, let's continue to do more therapy. Let's continue to do more reps, continue to build strength in that over the next week or so. And I'd rather take a short-term loss, even if they do lose to Minnesota, and have Dak ready for the rest of the games, being healthy, ready to be explosive on that ankle, instead of just thinking short-term, I want to win this game now. I want to win long-term, Super Bowl.
You know what the difference is? He played football. You played basketball. I didn't play. For normal people who don't have something wrong with them, because you got to have something wrong with you to play football. I mean, like, this is a dangerous sport. Football is the ultimate sport in terms of best dude plays, whoever gives you the best chance to win. If you can be out there, be out there. The rest of us who are not insane look at a 17-game tackle football schedule and go, this dude is feeling it in the same leg where he had his injury initially and then another injury, and you got to get ready to play 17 games, and you're coming off a bye, and you can give him a nice long rest right now. But Key, is just not the way I think you think, because you played the game.
Well, it's not that I played the game, Max, or anything like that. It's about understanding, like Jay mentioned, Britt Brown is there. He is the assistant head trainer. Then you have Jim Maurer, who's the head trainer, and you have Greg. They know what they're doing. I put the trust in their hands. Dak Prescott has been taking reps. Where are we at today on Friday? Practice resumed on Wednesday for them. He's been practicing this entire time, and you don't have him out there practicing and doing the things that he's doing to then go to the game on Sunday and say, oh, you're a healthy scratch, when you're taking reps away from the backups that you're now inserting into the lineup who did not get enough work. You just don't do that. And I understand what everybody's saying, but I can tell you, if he's practicing on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, he is going to play on Sunday, because you just don't take reps from backups. This is the same sort of situation with the Cleveland Browns and Baker Mayfield. Case Keenum is potentially the starter. Baker Mayfield is taking reps away from him, not knowing if he's going to play or not. You just don't do that, because now if you start him and then he has to be removed from the game, that guy who's replacing him has got minimum reps. What do you think he's going to look like?
Yeah, there's two separate issues. One is he going to play? Key is reading the tea leaves and saying, oh, he's going to play. And the other is, should he play? Is this the guy who ought to play? And that is a complicated answer. Key, it's maybe straightforward to you.
But why shouldn't he play though? Why shouldn't he play?
Okay, because here's what I'm thinking. One bye per conference, the Cowboys are going to be in the running for that. They have the division locked up. They're going to the playoffs because NFC East is garbage and they're good. Okay. So you already know they're going to the playoffs whether he plays or not. The thing that you're really angling for here is the bye. What gives you a better chance at the bye? Him not playing, which is not like rallying the troops. There's something to that. My quarterback's out there all the time and everything like that, which is giving you a lesser chance to win this game against the Vikings. But the flip side to that is coming off the bye, taking another week off is the longest rest period he will ever have this year. And then the percentage better that he'll be, or more likely to remain healthy he'll be for the rest of the 17-week schedule, maybe the percentage chance that they win a couple other games is higher, that I'm willing to sacrifice this Vikings game, sacrifice a little of the rah-rah stuff right now, in order to win as many games going forward possible to secure that bye. It's a lot to consider.
Well, here's what I would say, Max, though. Here's what I would say, though, Max. When you say this is the most rest that he's going to get, I want you to understand something about teams as they get into the second half of the season. The second half of the season, depending on where you are from a record standpoint, the pads come off. They come off. They just take them off. And it basically becomes a walkthrough from call it week 9 to the end of the season. That's basically what it becomes. It becomes a pat and go walkthrough because you want to get them fresh and keep them healthy. So even during the weeks that you think that they're practicing, it's not as physical as you would think. You may not know that, or you may not be thinking about that, but from the middle of the season on, it basically is a bye, even though you're mentally preparing yourself for the game, but physically you're not doing much until Sunday.
Oh, that's so interesting. The whole thing is interesting because there's so much to consider, including what you just said. David Kaplan. Well, by the way, the Cowboys are hoping Dak Prescott can get on the field and get in the zone on Sunday. Get in the zone is brought to you by AutoZone. Get in the zone, AutoZone. Okay. They haven't lost since week 1, the Cowboys. Neither have the Packers. Does that mean if the Packers keep winning that Aaron Rodgers would stay in Green Bay? Let's see what the reaction to that would be for their biggest rivals. David Kaplan from ESPN 1000, host of Cap and J Hood, is with us. Good morning, Cap. What's going on?
Good morning, gentlemen. How are we?
Cap, how you doing, brother? I want to say first off, congratulations on getting into the Chicagoland Sports Hall of Fame last night. You are a legend. I worked with you for a long time. Hats off to you, brother.
Thank you. It was an amazing night to see that class there. Charles Woodson won an award, and Candace Parker. It was just really, really cool. And my teammate, Tommy Waddle, got in as well.
Awesome.
What would the reaction in Chicago be if Aaron Rodgers stayed with the Packers?
People would be like, well, we're going to suck for a long time because we just look like a wayward franchise that has these two men at the top. I'm talking about George McCaskey and Ted Phillips, who have proven over, multiple decades that they have no clue how to run an NFL team.
Because they did select Mark Trestman, and his look alone wouldn't get me to hire him, looking like a scientist. I wouldn't be able to do it. Sorry. Couldn't do it, baby. But let me ask you this, David, about Allen Robinson. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say to you, the day they hired Trestman, I reached out to Tim Brown, who I'd never spoken to in my life. Could you come on and just talk football with us? Sure. Hey, Tim, we just hired Mark Trestman. What do you think? And he started laughing. And he said, Mark Trestman? Good luck. There's zero chance that works.
Hey, I wanted to ask you a question, but I'm laughing because it's true. He's never coached me a day in my life. I've never been coached by him. But I'm like, yeah, that's probably not going to work. When you play in the league, you kind of know who the right guys are, So, and one of the right guys for you guys, David, is Allen Robinson. Early this week, he talked about building the chemistry with Justin Fields. Did the Bears screw it completely up when they decided to not commit to Justin Fields in the preseason and training camp so he can get a rapport with the receivers and the offense? Instead, they kind of split reps with Andy Dalton?
Look, I truly believe Matt's a really good guy, Matt Nagy, and that he truly, truly believes Andy Dalton gave him the best chance to win at that time. So it's part of trying to develop Justin. They had this big grand plan. The point of the whole matter is we got a bad offensive line. We don't have enough skill position players, and it's just not a very good football team. And that falls at the feet of Matt and Ryan.
Dave, here's one. I don't think anybody's ever really ready. And I know that this goes against the grain that typically for a rookie, especially at the quarterback position, you let them sit for a minute, let them understand the playbook, the timing. But Justin Fields has always struck me as a person that you have to throw him into the fire because he will react. Do you feel as if like him taking over the QB spot was kind of too early in the season? Do you think it should have been later?
Okay, I can't be disingenuous. I think I said to you guys, I know I said on my show a million times, and I know Key's on with us every Wednesday. I've said it to him. I would have started Justin. So I don't know if it would have worked any better with Justin. Here's where I'm at on Allen Robinson. I do not think he's an elite receiver. Maybe I'm wrong. He doesn't have top-end speed. He's not a top-end athlete. He's a very good football player. Pay that guy Keenan Allen money? Stop yourself. No chance.
All right, Cap, let me bring you to my Bulls, our Bulls. Lost to the Knicks last night. They're now 4-1. I know there's a lot of excitement around the city, but something I saw last night that I'm curious to get your perspective on. I saw a play designed in which Zach LaVine, having a game-winning shot, had a chance to catch the ball at the top of the key. DeMar DeRozan actually denied the handoff and took the shot himself, airballed it. How do you think this team is going to figure out who their closer is down the stretch?
It's a great question. Here's the real conundrum that I think they're in. You brought in Vucevic. The offense ran through him in Orlando. He's trying to develop chemistry. Then you bring in DeMar DeRozan. Offense ran through him in San Antonio. Then you got Zach. Offense ran through him in Chicago, and it wasn't a very good team because he had no talent around him. It's going to take time to figure out roles and who's going to get the ball when and who's going to take a game-winning shot. I just think guys are searching for their identity. I love Billy Donovan. I think he's a really good coach. Just he's going to earn his money.
Yeah, but the Bulls, listen, the Bulls are going to be good this year. The only question I really have is depth and Patrick Williams' age. That's it. Right? Like otherwise, he's got to get a little more seasoned, but they're good and fun to watch. Cap, appreciate you jumping on with us this morning as always.
All right, Cap, congrats again,
You
brother.
guys have a wonderful weekend.
You too. Jay, so you watched the game last night.
Mm-hmm.
They lost by a point. DeRozan.
Yeah, but the Knicks dominated the full length of the game until the end.
Until the rush at the end.
Yeah, they went. The Bulls went on a 12-0 run. And I think the Knicks are becoming more and more impressive each time I watch them play. The question for the Knicks is, can they sustain? But as it relates to Chicago, look, the way they defend, the way they pass the ball, they just need to build a sense of urgency. But they are one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference.
I agree.
That's no doubt.
They're a well-constructed starting five. 17, speaking of injuries, Key has been saying all week that Baker Mayfield might be trying to play.
Why they got my light down?
Why does Jay look like me? He's very dark right now.
What? They got me in the dark. Why they just block me out like this?
That just happened, huh? Light just went out.
Key, can you see
We got
me?
a lot. We got a lot going on, man. We got a lot going on in our studios. That's for damn sure.
Damn.
The worldwide leader. Let's
right
get it
now?
together. Let's get it together, worldwide leader. Let's go.
That's all right. I wouldn't mind being in the dark a little
Don't
bit.
worry,
Man. I
guys.
haven't had sun in a minute.
I'm gonna take a nap. Y'all got it.
So Key, you've been saying that Baker might be trying to play this week because of the wrong reasons, right? Like you don't want a guy out there for the wrong reasons. If Case Keenum, they're going to drive my price down. Let's hear what Adam Schefter had to say on Get Up yesterday about Baker trying to play this week.
If you're talking about
He wants to be out there for his team. Adam is totally right about that. But there's no question that he also sees the opportunity for Case Keenum to put some doubt into Andrew Berry's mind, who's the general manager of the Cleveland Browns, as to say, well, here's an opportunity for us to negotiate on a long-term solution with Baker Mayfield's contract. That number, as Case Keenum plays and wins games, as Baker Mayfield continues to get healthy, that is a negotiation ploy that they can use against him by saying, hey, buddy, this guy won 8 games in this particular system. He went, 7-1, 6-2. And that's the conversation where now Baker Mayfield's number starts to dip a little. It's not that we don't want him, but we don't want him at that price. We want him at the price that fits what we want to do because, as you've seen, we can win with anybody. And those are the sort of conversations that take place in the back room when you're negotiating, when you have a player like this. Now, Baker Mayfield, just like all of us, have family, have friends, and they're sitting there chirping and telling him, man, you got to get back out there, man. You know, they're going to try to mess you over. You got to get back out there. So I believe he's trying to force himself out on the field to protect that salary and also help his team win the games. Now, I don't blame him, but if I'm them and he's not 100% ready, I'm not rolling him out there.
You know, Key, I feel like being an athlete, we've both been ones our whole life, is that there's always this, you want to get out there and you want to compete with your teammates to help them win games. But there's a juncture in everybody's career where you have to be selfish, right? Especially while you're trying to procure the bag. And there's a part of me that wants to tell Baker, this is your time to be selfish, and not in a malicious way, but as it relates to making sure that your body is healed to the point that if you get hit again in that shoulder, you can still be okay to continue to play. And I know as much as you want to be out there and the anxiety you probably have from seeing your money that could be negotiated against you, but as much as you think that somebody thinks that Case Keenum can do well, he can also not do well, right? So there is a calculated gamble, and I'd much rather you take that calculated gamble and you come back healthy, Key, because even if Cleveland doesn't give you your money, somebody in the marketplace is going to give you your money. I just hope he's being advised the right way.
But he's got his fifth-year option. So in that fifth-year option, I believe is close to $20 million. So you good as far as the fifth-year option goes. So even if Case Keenum goes out there and he balls out, and let's assume that they move on. Let's just say that they go, we don't want Baker Mayfield anymore. They're going to move on for him. Nobody's going to trade for Baker Mayfield with a fifth-year option and give up what it's going to take to get Baker Mayfield and then not extend him. They're going to always trade for you, extend you. Trade for you, extend you. They're not going to trade for you and not extend you. That's not how they do things in the National Football League when you are a high caliber player that was drafted extremely high. They look at it and say, okay, we'll give up a first-round pick to get Baker Mayfield. They'll give up their first-round pick because that's what it's going to take to get a Baker Mayfield. If they decided, for whatever weird reason, they want to move on from him, and that new team that picks him up is going to have to give him a long-term extension. So he's going to get some money between now and the end of next season for sure.
Is it possible that you pick up the fifth-year option and then they franchise him? You know, if they're not sure, that's what happened with Kirk Cousins. Made a lot of money getting franchised before he got, his contract with a different.
Yeah, but that franchise tag, Max, the franchise tag is probably about 40. I think it's about 45 to 50 million. Do they?
Yeah, it's nuts. Yeah. Never mind. Yeah, it's not like, because I still have my head in a few years ago when it's like 32 million. No. It's like
crazy money
in the high 40s now. And don't let Lamar sign first, because then you're gonna look at Mahomes and Lamar. You got to average the top salaries. Oh, it's a lot of money. You might be better off if you can somehow stay healthy. You probably make more money that way than anything, right? But yeah, it's such an interesting situation.
He'll be standing next to Roger Goodell as far as making money.
Yeah, you're not lying.
2 years, 128 mil. Wow.
Yeah.
2 years, 128 million dollars.
But it's
CJ, you always
said it. I know you didn't say it. I said it.
I didn't want to give out the number. I just said making money. You always got to give out the number.
Because making money to me is like making scraps, not 128 over 2 years.
It's part of Baker Mayfield's situation right now is a little bit of bad luck that they signed a really good backup who has had success with the head coach in the past. Case Keenum is like, how many teams? Is he the best backup quarterback in football right now? He's definitely one of them, especially given the situation where his head coach used to be his quarterback's coach when he came in second in the league in QBR to Tom Brady not long ago. He's up there somewhere. Like, it's not like if they would have cheaped out on a backup quarterback, Baker wouldn't be under pressure as much right now.
There's somebody somewhere, Max. There's somebody somewhere that we're not thinking about that we might think is out of the league somewhere. Gardner Minshew's good. But I'm trying to think somebody who had long-term success in the NFL and is like buried on somebody's roster that's good. I off the top of my head, I can't think of anybody off the top of my head.
Andy Dalton?
Yeah, Evan said Andy Dalton. I don't know if I see Andy Dalton in it. Well, that's what I said, Keith.
You know who
When the Cowboys picked him up, I thought so.
It is? You know who it is? Mitch Trubisky. That's who it is.
Oh, yeah, good
Mitch
one.
Trubisky.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good one.
Okay.
Mitch Trubisky is a good one.
I had to think for a minute. Mitch Trubisky.
By the way, and but so much of it is also so there's one. So first there's the issue of who's the backup, and secondly there's the construction of the team. Like in Chicago, if Chicago had a really good offensive line, we would look at Dalton and Nick Foles a lot differently. We'd be like, ooh, they got a lot at the backup quarterback spot. But because they don't have the line, those aren't the right guys for that team. When you look at the Browns, it's going to elevate the backup anyway because they got the offensive line. They have players on the defense. They have receivers. They have running backs, even though they're hurt right now. It's just a tough spot for Baker to be in at the moment.
It's for a team that had Super Bowl or bust kind of, and I know for people who are rational in the football world, they'll look at it as win your division, get to a championship, maybe not the Super Bowl, but get to your conference championship. But expectations are really, really high for this team. And I say this again, the way they finished last year had everybody on the edge of their seat about what they could be. And they've gone the opposite way this year.
Keyshawn, J. Willimax, presented by Progressive Insurance. All guests on the Goodyear Hotline. Tune into football action Sunday as the Bears host the 49ers. Coverage begins at noon Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We're going to continue this conversation and get to the 4 biggest games of Week 8, including a revenge game for Jameis Winston. That's next. Keyshawn, J. Willimax, ESPN Radio, ESPN2. The game. He's got to win this game. Let me see Jameis make some positive plays. I know your nephew's not on the field, Key, but I'd like to see a little more than last week.
What I would say is I think when you look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going up against the New Orleans Saints, I'm a strong believer in Sean Payton. He understands what this defense is all about. He's played against them multiple times. They're in the same division. And you mentioned Jameis Winston in Seattle and how he played. Well, that's the way he needed to play in that particular situation to win that football game. He did not turn the football over. I think that is a plus. That is the same thing in the way you approach this football game. Only thing you're going to do that's different is you're going to unleash Jameis Winston against a poor secondary in Tampa Bay.
Some shots down the field.
This is a lot of people, and I know, Key, you brought up this conversation the other day about the Saints and their ceiling, where he thinks they can get to. This is a massive game because I want to see Sean Payton unleash Jameis Winston. I want to see him against that secondary, and I know their defense is good. My question around the Saints is how far can Jameis Winston take them in their offense? That's my big question for them. I'll see that firsthand.
One step at a time. He did what he needed to do last week. Take the next step this week.
That's fine last week. I want to see this week.
Let's move on.
And who he is. He is healthy right now, and Frank Reich is dialing it up with young Michael Pittman Jr. But on the other side of the ball, the Tennessee Titans, that guy, that beast, that running back at Derrick Henry is dominating the line of scrimmage. He is on pace for 2,200 yards, something we've never seen in the National Football League, possibly 2,300 yards. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in this football game. The edge, to me, though, goes to the Colts.
Okay, so a lot of conversations looming around now, Key, where people were talking about the Titans saying, is this team a Super Bowl contender? With the way they played their last 2 games, I'm just going to say this, and I know Titan fans won't like it. It's hard for me to look at them as a Super Bowl contender when they lost to the Jets. I know the game went into overtime, but I need to see a lot more from them to make me think that Ryan Tannehill and this team and their defense that Mike Vrabel is known to be good at need to continue to step up and show me consistency before I can actually take them seriously.
Look, the Titans just beat the 2 boogeymen teams of the AFC,
I understand.
Right?
Yeah, the Bills
in consecutive
Kansas
weeks.
City, yes.
The Chiefs and the Bills, and I think if they take this game, they're on the road. You beat the divisional rival. After you just did what you did, we have to start asking, Is that the best team in the AFC? Whether we feel that way or not, like it that way or not, At a certain point, you got to start asking that question about the Titans. And by the way, Derrick Henry is incredible. Now that there's a 17-game season, we have to start adjusting when we hear on pace to. He is on pace to smash the record, but I don't know about on a per-game basis.
So wait, how they beat the Bills doesn't matter? It's just that they beat the Bills? It's not that Josh Allen slipped on the 1-yard line to win the game, Key? You know what I mean?
Key is anxious
how
to
does
move
it matter
it along.
now? Okay.
Third down, guys.
Third down.
Will be that guy. It'll be interesting to see. I think in this particular football game, though, this is a defensive game for the Cleveland Browns. Jadeveon Clowney along with Myles Garrett. Greedy Williams in the secondary along with Denzel Ward. And Hill and Johnson and that cast of characters have to take the next step up against a subpar offense in Pittsburgh.
All right. Well, Nick Chubb is back. We know how talented this team is from a running perspective. But also, look, Pittsburgh's defense, man, they've only allowed 2 rushing TDs this entire year. So we know that Case Keenum is serviceable, but we know they're still going to try to dominate the ball on the ground. Let's see how the Steelers' defense holds up.
This, to me, is so interesting because I like the Browns on paper with Case Keenum. I don't think they lose all that much to get the running back back, but I keep telling everyone, you got to look at the Steelers' schedule. Look where they can get wins because Tomlin's going to get some wins. Tomlin ain't having a 4-win season, right? This is a winnable game.
Yeah, he's going to get some wins until he comes to USC. He needs to get those wins before he comes to USC.
Yeah, of course. Of course. He might win enough to get a college coach as a D coordinator, maybe. Yeah, he's good at Tomlin. Tomlin's too competitive to have a losing season. I think we've learned that by now. So when I start seeing winnable games on the schedule, I'm like, I don't know. I like the Browns, but I don't know, Key. I don't know. All right. Let's move it along.
Fourth down. Cowboys at Vikings.
Offensively, they got the same sort of balance. This game is going to hinge on the defensive side of the ball. Can Zimmer stop what Kellen Moore is able to dial up and vice versa? Can Dan Quinn stop what they're able to dial up in Minnesota? I do believe, though, the Dallas Cowboys are primed for something special. The Minnesota Vikings clearly have to continue to win games because they don't want to let Green Bay get away too far in front of them, and then they don't have a chance to either compete for a second spot in the division and hopefully a wild card playoff spot or try and win the division. But this game is all about the Dallas Cowboys and what they can do on defense.
Are the Dallas Cowboys training staff going to let Dak Prescott play? I think Dak Prescott plays. For naming this team one of the best teams in the National Football League, one of the things that always kind of leaves me hanging on the edge of my seat, Max, is I'm like, man, just think about this team when they're actually fully healthy. Like the one name Key didn't mention, Amari Cooper. He's coming back. When does Michael Gallup come back? You start thinking, Key, about all the weapons this team has offensively, and you're like, wow, well, what could this team be when they're actually complete?
I wonder if Dak plays. Does he play the whole game? I hope so. If he does play, I think if he plays, they win. If he doesn't play, they might also win. And guys, you just said it. Amari Cooper, the thing, Key, I like about him, he wins his matchup. Like when you single cover Amari Cooper, he finds a way to get open and wins that matchup. And he hasn't been on the field for them, and they're doing this. They have a lot. They have a lot, and they have a chance to win this game even without Dak.
You play Dak Prescott if he can play 4 quarters. You don't play Dak Prescott if he can only play a quarter or 2. It doesn't. You don't do that because he's your starting quarterback. You got to make sure, and I know that the training staff will make sure that he's capable of going the distance because you don't want to have to turn to your backup when he's got limited reps in a game that you need to win.
Yeah. And by the way, if Cooper Rush plays whatever, and don't forget, Trayvon Diggs can just make a play that in a game you should lose, you wind up winning. Like the Cowboys have a lot. All right, we have time for the bonus down.
Bonus down.
Number 6.
In Ohio State. That'll be the next test when everybody says, can he beat Ohio State? The Michigan State game, though, I think is key because if he loses the Michigan State game, here we go again. Michigan State beats Michigan. It elevates Mel Tucker. If that happens, you watch what I tell you. Mel Tucker's name will skyrocket among coaching vacancies in the National Football League as well as college.
That's not the only Big Ten game with championship game implications tomorrow. Tune in tomorrow as Wisconsin hosts Iowa, presented by Dr. Pepper. Coverage begins at 11 a.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. All right. Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max. On the Dr. Pepper call-in line.
Did I say Amari Cooper coming back? Did I say healthy, like fully healthy? Because you gave me a weird look when I said that.
No, just now I gave Max a weird look based on the Big Ten Conference and the Wisconsin and Iowa playing each other. I was like, ugh. That's why I gave you that look. I think, yeah.
All right. The Packers.
I don't like,
the Packers
I don't like that type of football though. That's just that.
I know.
Yes.
You got to dress. You got to wear. You got to put on the jacket. It's going to be raining, and it's just like, God.
Hog mollies up front. The Packers
haven't
the
lost. Hog mollies up front.
Some slobber knockers up front. Yeah. The Packers haven't lost since week 1. So are they the best team in the NFC? We'll answer that
way before my time.
Greatest American hero.
The greatest American hero. That's right.
We've told Jay that like 3 times on the show.
I just refuse to remember it.
That was a good show.
That's a great line.
He found a space suit.
I'm going to use that at home.
That had all these powers.
No, don't use it with the wife, Evan. It's not going to work.
Believe it or not, I should use that line at home. I just choose not to remember.
No.
Key, do you remember the premise of the greatest American hero?
Yeah, the guy who looked, what he looked like, or the premise of it. It was like a fake superhero kind of with powers.
Yeah.
No, what
with
was
power,
it?
but he threw away the instruction manual. He never read the instruction manual, so he had the powers, but he was flying all crazy.
All right. Back in my day,
he had the Kenny G kind of haircut going with the curly hair.
Yeah. I remember I don't remember what the show was really like, but I remember as a kid thinking I liked the show. I think maybe I just liked the theme song. It was a good theme song. All right.
Most people remember the theme song as George Costanza's answering machine. Believe it or not, George isn't at home.
George's not at home, yeah.
All right, here we go. Believe it or not, let's roll through some of these. The Giants will beat the Chiefs on Monday Night Football. Believe it or not, Key?
I get worried against our Giants, Max, when I then see Patrick Mahomes say, you know what? I have to be better. I'm going to be better. Like, oh, damn. This is the time of year that this team typically turns it around. Yes, their defense has a lot of questions, but it's hard for me to go against Houdini, and that's who Patrick Mahomes is.
Yeah, the Giants have 2 wins on the season. Man, I hope they don't win this game. What do I need? The Giants to win like 5 games so they have a worse draft pick at this point. But the fact is that Patrick Mahomes is not losing to the New York Giants. If they do, it is at that point it's panic time in Kansas City. If they drop 2 games below 500 and lose to a 2-win team, yeah.
The Giants are so bad, Max, I don't even care about their record. It's like, they're a bad team. So what are they? 2, 1, 3? I know they're not good.
No, but if you're gonna be bad, be all the way bad. Go get the edge rusher you need, you know?
Or the quarterback. Just saying.
Yeah. Well, Daniel Jones.
Just saying.
Yeah, you're
One
right.
New York team did that, had the quarterback, went and got another one.
Don't take Max down this road.
Here we go.
And they'll be getting another one soon too, Evan.
Yeah, they will. Arch, baby. Jameis Winston will play his best game of the season against the Bucs this Sunday.
Like Sean Payton is certainly going to try and put Jameis Winston in the best situation to succeed by putting those points on the board. Not that they are going to win the game, but I think he'll have the best game that he's had thus far this season. Chip on his shoulder, too.
So here's the question for Jameis, because after their last win, he said, I stayed disciplined. I took what the defense gave me. Well, when you start playing against the Bucs and a team that can put up points in a hurry with all the weapons that they have, from Mike Evans to Antonio Brown, to all their weapons, there's a tendency when you have to score a lot, you don't stay disciplined. You start taking shots at it. And my question is, will we be talking about the Saints as, man, Jameis Winston took a lot of shots and he had a couple of turnovers, and this is why you don't want him to play in shootouts?
Well, I don't believe it because Michael Thomas isn't playing. If he needs a big radius pass catcher who can do a lot of things down the field, but I would disagree, guys. I think, yes, you want ball security, but I'd like a little more gambling in this game. I don't think the Saints win, but it's tough, I know, because their defense is really good. So if it's a tight game, I don't want to see him being crazy. But if they need to keep pace, air it out. If you turn it over at a certain point, try to win the game. Don't worry about losing it.
Key, will Michael Thomas play again this year?
Believe it or not, I'm walking on air.
Evan, next up.
Jameis Winston, speaking of the Saints quarterback, he had this to say about acquiring Mark Ingram this week. Take a listen.
One of the best back tandems in the league, right? With Latavius and Alvin. I heard some Snickers, but excuse my language, right? One of the best tandems in the league, right? So
it's hot. It's fine.
you almost passed, yeah. All right, tandem was good. Is either.
Combined tandems and combos or condoms. Oh my God!
But he corrected himself right away. He was not unaware. It wasn't a malaprop like he didn't know what he said. He knew what he said.
Best back condoms. That's what he said.
Yeah.
Believe it or not,
I don't know that I
combined
would be
tandem and combo.
Yeah, I believe that he had some other stuff on his mind. That's what I believe at a press conference. So
I believe.
I don't.
I believe that he's thinking about pick up a good backup running back. You can never get enough protection. From injury.
This is why we should just start This is why we need to invest in it's BBC. Best Back Condoms. I mean, it's a new brand. Just invest in it. Just own it.
All right.
Yeah, well,
folks, we'll be here all week.
I like working at Disney, guys. So I'm just gonna move on.
He said it, not us.
He said it. Yeah.
He's
ready for the weekend.
The Bengals are the best team in the AFC North, Keith. Believe it or not.
It's getting close. You know why? Because the war of attrition for the Ravens is depletion after depletion. Lamar Jackson, I still think they have a slight edge, but it's pretty damn close.
I believe it. I think the Bengals are the best right now. The only caveat for me is obviously Lamar is a lot. They also have a coach in a way like Tomlin that competes every year. So I know they'll be competitive. But when I look at the Bengals, they're playing defense. They got a quarterback, check. They got a lead receiver, check. And other receivers who can cause you problems, check. And they got a back, all at very high levels. I think they're the best team in the North right now.
By the way, at the beginning of the year, I heard both you guys kind of go at Zach Taylor. Like, Are all those apprehensions, are they just thrown out of the window now? Because all we talk about is how good the Bengals are. Nobody questions Zach Taylor anymore. I'm just curious how we just made that pivot so fast.
Still early.
I didn't make a pivot. What is that? What is that?
I know you
say?
didn't, yeah.
What is there to say when the team is 5-2? There's nothing to pivot to. Team's 5-2. There's nothing to say. He's coaching. Your record is what it says it is. You're 5-2. There's nothing to talk about.
One more quick.
But the difference is with Harbaugh, with Tomlin, I believe a team coached by those guys will be competitive come hell or high water. I don't know that about Zach Taylor yet. I just know they're balling and they're good.
All right, last one, guys. The Packers have won 7 straight since losing the first week of the season. They're now 7-1. The Packers will have home field advantage throughout the end.
I don't think so. I think Green Bay's got 1, maybe 2 more losses in them, and so do a bunch of other teams in the NFC.
I agree. I'll go with not. I think people are putting a lot of disrespect and not giving the attention warranted to the Los Angeles Rams.
Going there.
They just been doing their work quietly and moving forward. But I think they're the best team in the NFC.
I agree. I think the Rams might be the best team in football. I think they're getting slept on because of one bad home loss. I like the Rams or the Bucs to get the 1 seed. All right. That was it. That was Believe It or Not. The Cardinals are not the only team that suffered their first loss of the season last night. We'll explain after Jay has this from brought to you by Goodyear with you for every mile on the road to greatness. Goodyear, more driven. And good morning, Monica.
What up, fam?
Good morning, fellas. Let's go. Next handing out tell folks their first L's. We love it.
See, ain't no need for that.
What did you learn about both teams last night, Monica? What did you take away from the game?
Oh, let me just bing bong. Let's go. And then when it comes to this, I think the Bulls team, they didn't turn the ball over. They had 7 turnovers the entire time. I actually think that they're a solid defensive unit. They pretty consistently doubled Julius last night. They're not really interested in offensive rebounding. They finished the game versus the Raptors with just 5. and then they were out rebounded by 12 versus the Knicks. DeMar DeRozan is still cold in the mid-range. Lonzo Ball didn't really have a notable game versus the Knicks, but I just think the Knicks' ability to find the hot shooters at the right time. Kemba Walker has 5 threes in this ball game. RJ Barrett rattles off 11 points in the fourth quarter that kind of stemmed the tide. But ultimately, the 2-minute drought, you're up 13, you go on a 2-minute drought, you allow the Bulls to make it close. That's the second time we've kind of seen, or actually third time we've kind of seen this Knicks team panic down the stretch. That is problematic. They were very lucky to get out of there with the dub.
Monica, it's been a great start for the Knicks. It always comes back to that question for me around any team that is coached by Tibbs, is that when you start getting to like close to the halfway point, how much energy could teams like that sustain with how hard they play defensively? And I know that's a messed up question to ask because everybody should be considered to play hard all the time. But do you think this team has the depth to sustain that style of play the entire year without going through injuries and things of that sort?
Jay, I think that's a great question, and we all have to knock on wood when it comes to injuries. But I do think that the race, as it is currently constructed, is the second unit for the Knicks. I mean, they came into last night as one of the best in the league, right? And I know we're only 2 weeks in, but the stats are what the stats are to this point in terms of outscoring other teams' secondary group. It's funny because D Rose is technically part of that second unit, but he's on the floor to close games a lot of times, right? And if you dig into the box score, at least I don't know the time exactly last night, but over the course of the season so far, you'll look and him and Kemba will almost have split the position or the minutes, right? And so I think the depth and some of this youth turning a corner. Emmanuel quickly is struggling to shoot the basketball right now. I think he will turn a corner. Obi Toppin is giving his team quality minutes. You can see where he's gotten stronger. The NBA game has slowed down just a bit. And even if he's only doing the one thing, which is defend and run the floor, he's doing it very, very well. And I think Alec Burks continues to be an unsung hero in that second unit. So I do think because of their depth, and we talk about it in the studio all the time, this version of Tibbs, Jay, seems far more willing to listen to his guys, adjust, not take the foot off the gas in game, but in terms of practice habits and how I protect your bodies and help you sustain the type of intensity that he's looking to maintain over the course of the season.
Monica, what does it say about Zach LaVine dropping basically a quarter on the Knicks' head with a torn ligament in his thumb?
Says he's tough, Key, like a football player. Let's go. First of all, that was in his offhand, so let's not get too carried away. He still is a bucket, but I think Zach LaVine's upside is tremendous, and that core that the Bulls have, I said this on First Take earlier this week, I think that they are going to surprise in the East. Now, I don't know that they'll necessarily be better than the Knicks. I think those teams are going to see each other all the way through. But Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan to me, Lonzo Ball, it's so beautiful when they're going because it's simple, right? Like Zach LaVine can score at all levels. Lonzo has tremendous vision, and DeMar DeRozan is still one of the coldest dudes when it's time to get a mid-range bucket or get to the rim in the league. So I'm excited for Zach LaVine. I wonder, it's in his offhand, so I don't think that injury is going to bother him too much if he can just kind of nurse it back to health.
What's up with my Lakers though right now? Everybody hating on them, including Jay. So what's up with them? What's wrong with them?
No.
Okay, so here's my thing. I am surprised by the start by the Lakers. It's been a little ugly. I do think they're going to get it together, but I have the same concern I had when the team first got together. Who's going to play the regular season, right? Because you got a bunch of vets that are only interested in chasing a ring. And Anthony Davis has to be both productive and healthy because to me, he is the cog that makes the whole thing operate.
Well, what they supposed to be into? Chasing a ring.
So are you okay with how they started the season knowing that? I still think it's a little uglier than I thought it would be.
Yeah. It'll be all right.
Monica, we got about a little over a minute. The Lakers been struggling out the gate. They'll get it together. James Harden also, and he's blamed it on the fact that he couldn't play pickup. He's rehabbing this and that, but also there's no D'Antoni. There have been rules changes. There's no Kyrie. What do you see? Like, what can the Nets do to get him going?
Max, I'm struggling not to take this at face value. And y'all know this, right? you make your most gains in the offseason. And while we on NBA Twitter and consumers love to crack jokes about the summer runs, that's real. Like, I think people forget how crazy James Harden looked last year versus the closeout year. You know what I mean? And so I am completely 100% buying the hamstring injury. The Nets, again, I think you got a guy like KD. James gets healthy. I believe that they'll figure it out. But I think people want stars in the league, but like the Nets role players know exactly what. It's really about James Harden getting healthy to me.
And I think the way that him and Trae Young said it last night too, them not getting those foul calls, they have to adjust to this new style in which the refs are calling the games.
Yeah. Yeah, guys like Westbrook and James Harden, they have, when they have 8-10 years in the league as superstars, they didn't forget how to play basketball. Thank you, Monica. Appreciate
Monica,
it.
bring me
Great
that.
to see
Monica,
you as always.
bring me that
Monica
sweatshirt.
McNutt, ladies and gentlemen. Patrick Mahomes, meantime, knows he needs to play better. That's next. Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.